everybody! This is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR podcast. Very excited for the Snowball Derby to get underway. Unfortunately, Mother Nature would put her own spin on things and shake up the schedule. Nonetheless, the racing action would all get in. Some would be late nights, but great racing for sure. The best pro and super late model drivers in the country would flock for their annual trip to Pensacola. Practice sessions would be shortened, but Saturday night, the main event for the pro late models, the Snowflake 125, would be in action. Kaden Honeycutt, Luke Baldwin, Tristen McKee, Matt Craig, among others, would be ready to race it out. Monday, after the rain delays, would be the big one. All on the line for the 2025 Snowball Derby. 300 laps. Kyle Busch, Stephen Nasse, Dawson Sutton, Derek Thorn, Bubba Pollard, Chase Pinsonneault, last year's winner, Kaden Honeycutt, plus many others. Discussions with Dave breaks down all the racing action from Pensacola, and there was a lot to get into. Plus recent NASCAR news will keep you up to date on NASCAR, yellow flag, green flag, NASCAR history time, paint scheme of the week, interview with Chase Pinsonneault, and so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Thursday was scheduled to be practice. It would be full of rain. Friday would be wet as well, but there would be one practice session. The Snowflake 125 practice results. Top of the board, Gabe Brown, followed by Jake Finch, Keelan Harvick, Tristen McKee, Isaac Kitzmiller, rounding out the top 5. Other top drivers in the top 10, you got Matt Craig 10th, Jarrett Butcher 9th, Buddy Shepard in the 8th spot. Luke Baldwin was just talking to his brother, Jack Baldwin, when we saw both of them racing at the Turkey Derby. Expect Luke to be quick. Then you got Zach Dixon in that 6th spot. Of that group of 10, really the names you expected. 2 guys I wasn't too familiar with. Nonetheless, seems like everyone is shaking out their car in these practice session. Now, Snowball Derby, the Friday practice results. Dawson Sutton was at top of the board. We had Dawson on the show after his win at the All-American. Carson Brown right behind him. Preston Pelletier, Cole Butcher in 4th. Butcher fresh off his 2025 ASA All-Star Championship. Hayden Plybaum in 5th. Casey Clean in 6th. Casey's been really working his way up the super late model ranks. Excited to see him there. Spencer Davis in 7th. Ryan Preece in 8th. Jacob Gomez in 9th, Bubba Pollard rounding out the top 10 of the practice session. Truly expected all these guys to be top of the board, and it is practice, so taking it with a grain of salt, but wanted to touch upon that. In both the Snowflake 125 and the Snowball Derby, there is qualifying. The top 30 drivers that are fastest in qualifying lock themselves into each race. Then there is last chance qualifiers. For the Snowflake, there was 2 last chance qualifiers, just with an amount of drivers. For the Snowball Derby, there was a single last chance qualifier. Let's look at the results for the qualifying for the Snowflake 125. Luke Baldwin would win the pole, followed by Kaden Honeycutt. Honeycutt, full-time in the Truck Series. He also was last year's Snowball Derby champ. Casey Clean in 3rd, Dylan Zampa in 4th, Albert Francis 5th, Tristen McKee in the 6th spot, Jake Finch qualifies 7th, then Dylan Capello, Gabe Brown 9th, Casey Roderick rounding out the top 10. The only real surprise in this, and not technically a surprise, I mean, he was good in practice, but he's 13 years old. Keelan Harvick was maybe expecting him to get in the top 10 for qualifying. just with how good he was in practice and with his 5th place performance in the South Carolina 400 a couple weeks ago. Nonetheless, Keelan locks himself in on speed and will have a long 125 laps to see what he can do. Last chance qualifier 1 for the Snowflake. The top 2 drivers get in. Jade Averdezian and Evan Shotko. In the first one, locked themselves in. The second one, it's Jim Wall and Chase Bergson that are top of the board on that one. And that would complete the grid for the Snowflake 125. Now for the recap of the Snowflake 125. After already a long night of qualifying and last chance qualifying races, the Snowflake 125 for the pro late models would finally get underway early Sunday morning, a little bit after 1:30 a.m. Central Time. Luke Baldwin and Kaden Honeycutt will lead the pack to green, after Baldwin won the pole and Honeycutt was second fast in qualifying earlier in the night. After the two battle side by side, Honeycutt would clear and lead. Lap 35 would see the first yellow as the 50 goes spinning. Honeycutt alongside Baldwin restart. A lap later, the 7 of Tristen McKee would get the second. With 69 to go, the 62 of Keelan Harvick, who was having a good run, would be on the bumper of McKee, making the clear for the second spot eventually. Could the young Harvick catch Honeycutt? After a big pileup with 48 to go, Honeycutt and Harvick would restart. Keelan Harvick from the top spot gets the jump on the 54 for Kaden, and he leads. But deja vu all over again. Laps later, another big pileup sees another restart. This time, it wouldn't go as planned for Harvick, and as he drops to the 4th spot, with Honeycutt getting the jump and leading once again. Tristen McKee battles him for the top spot, eventually pulling past Kaden to lead. 38 laps to go, Harvick to the 3rd spot. Honeycutt in 2nd, with McKee still leading. 2 laps later, Harvick passes Honeycutt for 2nd. Could he catch McKee? 25 laps to go. In turn 1, Harvick makes the pass on Tristen McKee for the lead. 15 to go. Yellow flies for the 15. Did the 13-year-old Harvick learn from the last restart? Harvick again clears McKee for the lead. 2 laps to go. Harvick has a gap in between him and Tristen. And Keelan Harvick is your 2025 Snowflake 125 winner. The young Harvick, at 13 years old, is the youngest ever to win the Snowflake. Tristen McKee in 2nd and Kaden Honeycutt in 3rd. The green flag was waved at 3:24 a.m. Eastern Time. Late night for sure. With all the rain, the Snowball Derby qualifying and last chance qualifying races would be before the Snowflake 125 on Saturday night, which, as we just mentioned, created a long night for everyone. Max Reeves would be the first to qualify for the Snowball Derby. As mentioned, the top 30 in qualifying locked themselves into the Derby. The remainder will have to race themselves into the show. We'll first look at the top 10 from 10th to 1st. Casey Clean, Hayden Plybaum, David Gilliland, Chase Henson, Michael Atwell, 5th, Spencer Davis, Jake Finch, Hudson Bolger in 3rd, Ty Majeski in 2nd, and 1st, winning the pole, is Preston Peltier. With the top 30 getting in, a lot of focus towards the end of qualifying for the drivers in the late 20 spots. Chase Pinsonneault would be the 30th and final driver to lock in on speed. 29th, Cole Raz. 28th, Brandon Lopez. 27th, Ryan Preece. On the outside looking in, headed to the last chance qualifiers, Matt Craig, Kyle Busch, Derek Griffith, Gavin Bochelle, Corey Hall, Stephen Nasse, Austin Nason, Jake Garcia, Connor Jones, several others. Results from the Snowball Derby last chance qualifier. Top 4 qualify for the Snowball. Kyle Busch, Stephen Nasse, Derek Griffith, Jake Garcia. Names that would not get in: Noah Gragson, Connor Jones, Eric Jones, Seth Christensen, among others. And that would create the starting grid for the 2025 Snowball Derby. Unfortunately, with all the rain and more weather on Sunday, the race will get pushed to Monday. Now for trivia question time. This week's question is, at which 2 tracks did Richard Petty win the most races at? Answer coming at the end. Before we get into all the recap from the Snowball Derby, there was several other series racing throughout the weekend. Most of them got in on Tuesday. Crown 20 would be won by Adam Salter. Modifieds, Kaden Honeycutt. Outlaws would be Timothy Watson. Pro Trucks would be Stephen Davis. Sportsman would be won by Chad Robinson. Pure Stocks would be won by Robert Loper. Congratulations to all. Now for the recap from the Snowball Derby. As mentioned with the weather, the race would get pushed to Monday at 1 p.m., but would it be worth the wait? Preston Peltier would be the fastest in qualifying, taking the pole. Peltier and Ty Majeski would make up the front row on Monday afternoon in Pensacola. Peltier would lead briefly, then 13 laps in, Majeski would take over the top spot. First yellow, 59 laps in, following restart sees Ty in front of Spencer Davis. Laps later, tough wreck for Hayden Plybaum. Majeski and Jake Finch take the time to pit during the second yellow of the race. Davis and Peltier restart. Getting the jump from the outside, Peltier leads again. Another yellow, most of the field would pit. 183 laps to go. Majeski and David Gilliland battle. Gilliland leads briefly, then Majeski takes over the top spot again. 142 laps to go. Ty laps Kyle Busch for the second time. Right before the second competition yellow, the 76 of Cole Raz passes Majeski for the lead. With 76 laps to go, Raz and Majeski restart. 43 to go. Ty Majeski still leads, but last year's winner, Kaden Honeycutt, would have his engine expire. Seconds later, the yellow would fly for a spinning Cole Butcher. 29 laps to go. Majeski and Smith restart with Ty again leading. 7 laps later, another yellow for Gavin Bochelle. Majeski and Stephen Nasse restart. This is when the drama would begin. 13 laps to go. Ty and Nasse side by side approaching the restart zone. Then Ty would get on the gas early, firing before the zone. Yellow for Ty jumping the restart. Race control gives them a mulligan, and they attempt the restart again. 11 laps to go. Majeski fires off slightly before the line compared to the last restart while approaching the restart zone. Ty leads with Nasse in second. Moments later, chatter on the radio. They are giving Majeski a penalty for jumping the restart again. 9 laps to go after leading the majority of the race. Ty Majeski is black flagged and Stephen Nasse is scored the leader. After 15 years of trying, Stephen Nasse from Pinellas, Florida is your 2025 Snowball Derby champ. More on the restart call in discussions with Dave. Predictions look back for the Snowflake and Snowball. Snowflake, my pick did not play out, didn't even qualify for the race. Max Reeves. Snowball Derby, went with Ty Majeski. As we just talked about, Ty was black flagged for a restart violation, ends up being scored 23rd. Now for yellow flag, green flag, yellow flag, Snowflake, Mother Nature. Throughout the weekend, yes, Five Flags did everything they could do to get all the racing in. Kudos to them. Everyone had to roll with the punches. As someone on the East Coast was very excited to watch some great racing Saturday night, just became a very late night to say the least. Green flag, Snowflake, The late model youngsters of Tristen McKee and of course Keelan Harvick with the win. A 13 and 15-year-old finished first and second. Very impressive. Yellow flag, Snowball Derby. 81 of Hayden Plybom. Gets spun in what would be the second yellow of the race. Not to his doing. Hits the wall, going backwards really hard. Glad he's alright. Practically ripping the back of the roof off the car. Tough ending for that team. Snowball Derby. Say what you want to say, but green flag to Steven Nasse. This guy's been in late model racing for a long time. Has won practically every big race besides the Snowball Derby. He won in 2019, but he did not pass inspection. And Nasse was not in the top 30 in the qualifying session. He had to race his way into the race and goes on to win. Typical Nasse fashion. Congratulations, Steven. Well earned. Now for our interview for a driver that was just in the Snowball Derby, Chase Pinsonneault. Here's what Chase had to say.
Next driver we bring on the Splash of Gas just wrapped up his first Snowball Derby and his rookie season on the ASA All-Star Tour. Chase Pinsonneault, thanks for joining the show again, Chase.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Before getting into all the action from the Derby, you just wrapped up your rookie season on the ASA All-Star Tour. Was there at the start of the season at New Smyrna, some great racing in that series. 6 top 10s in 12 races. How would you say your ASA year went?
I feel like we got off to a little bit of a rocky start. Didn't really pick up with the pace that we wanted, but worked on it all year and progressively got our program better to the end of the year where I think we had found a lot of stuff. I feel like we picked up a lot of speed all year, and I think what shows the most is like we had our second New Smyrna Series race for the Southern Super Series and ran inside the top 5 a lot of the day. So I feel like from the start of the year to the end of the year, we learned a lot, got better all year, and had a lot of fun doing it.
Awesome. Just mentioned picking up speed throughout that season. Anything specifically you felt like you improved as a driver throughout the season?
I mean, all around, I feel like the best thing that I learned or the biggest thing that I improved on was just being able to give proper feedback for the team. In a super, you require a lot of different things to go fast, and I think we learned a lot of that this year. Not obviously 100% yet, but definitely enough to run in contentions for top 5 next year, so I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Got it. Seems like you're going in the right direction for sure. You grabbed 2 wins on the JAG CRA All-Stars Tour this year, Flat Rock in June, Owasso Speedway in September. You're running full-time in the ASA, but how do the wins and running up front boost your confidence?
It feels really good. I felt like we had those 2 wins, which is great. Significant improve on last year where we ran more races with less wins, so it felt good about that, but also felt like there was a lot to be left on the table. We were definitely the fastest car at Kalamazoo, but after redrawing towards the back, pulling the 8, I just didn't have enough time to get to the front, and then Winchester to lead as many laps as we did and have, the failure towards the end of the race with 8 to go, to lead all those laps and not come out with the win. I felt like we probably could have had 4 wins had that stuff not happened. So feel really good about it. Definitely a big confidence booster, but there was definitely still some left on the table that I felt like we deserved.
Got it. Nonetheless, seems like you're hungry for 2026. Switching to the Snowball Derby, even with the rain, you get the 5 flags early in the week. There was a short practice session on Friday where your fastest lap was a 16.58. What did you learn about the car early as you unloaded throughout the week?
On Monday when we unloaded for our tests, which we had arranged a little bit before, had to pick up a lot of speed. We rolled out with a little bit of a different package that we weren't familiar with, that we were just exploring. So after working on that all day Monday, I felt like we had a decent car. Would have liked a little bit more practice to improve on it, of course. But when I went out and ran that 5.8 the second time on the racetrack, I felt like we had a pretty solid car. I didn't think we were going to go set the pole by any means, but I definitely thought that we could go out and make the show, which we ended up doing. And I was super proud of the team and all the success that we found. Pensacola is one of our difficult racetracks, so to go there and find some speed and make the Derby was a really big deal.
Awesome. Appreciate you touching on those details. Glad you had the extra track time earlier in the week as well. With the weather, qualifying and a lot of racing got moved to Saturday night. Derek Thorn said on the show last week how stressful qualifying at the Derby can be. You put down a 16.54 and were the last driver to lock themselves into the Derby on speed. Saw your interview after. What were you feeling?
Oh, man, there's no way to describe the feeling. It's probably the most stressful 30 minutes of your life, just waiting. When you're sitting on that bubble, it's very, very scary, obviously not knowing if you're going to make the show or not. And you put in so much work throughout the year to make that show. So it's the most stressful couple laps of your life. There's no way to really explain it, but it feels like there's no other feeling. And then when you finally make it, it's just the biggest sense of relief you'll ever feel.
Got it. Was stress watching on TV for you? I couldn't imagine what you were feeling as a driver, but thank you for touching upon that. As mentioned, a long weekend with a lot of delays. As we saw, a lot could go wrong quickly in qualifying. Sure, your adrenaline kicks in at some point. Couldn't imagine how the guys were feeling that ran the Snowflake. How were you able to stay focused and put down a good lap when it counted? Seems hard to do after a lot of waiting.
I feel like just because I've been doing it so much over the course of the last couple of years that it's just something that you have to let automatically happen. There's so much stress that I feel like the more you think about it, the more room for error there actually is. And for me, the less I think, the better I am as a driver. So I just try to turn everything off, look ahead, and just kind of let my body do the work.
Got it. Seems like you were prepared. After the fog on Sunday, race gets moved to Monday. You start 30th, pass a handful of cars in the first 150. How were you feeling the first half of the race early on?
Felt really good. We struggled for short run speed for the majority of the day in the first 10 or 15 laps of a run, but once we got deeper into a run, I felt like we had a car to really contend. Just picked away. Unfortunately, some of the restarts didn't go quite the way we wanted to. Checkups and stuff, lane choice didn't really work out how I would have hoped, but we were able to capitalize when it counted and pick up a few spots before the end of the race. So overall, I felt really good, and I felt like the team did a good job. Spotter did a great job up in the booth, guiding me through some of those checkups. Just unfortunately, we got stuck in some wrong places at some wrong times.
Got it. You mentioned struggling on the short runs. Was a long run kind of towards the end of the race. How were you feeling handling wise during the longer session?
A really good once we got rolling. We'd fire off a little bit tight, but the car slowly came to me, and along those longer runs, like when I was running with Nasse and stuff, had gotten lapped, and when Nasse and stuff was around me, felt like I could keep pace with all the front guys. Just didn't have quite enough fire speed to stay with them. They get away, and then I'd hold pace. So once the longer runs started to happen, I felt really good about it, and we were able to pick up a few positions before the end.
Got it. Seems like you learned a lot as well. In the end, come home with a P18 finish. Been following you this year, but was impressed. How were you feeling after your first Snowball Derby? Seems like you had a lot. Go right throughout the weekend with your team, and seems like it was hard working throughout the season, which led to this moment.
Yeah, I felt like we hit all of our goals as a team. Our goal, obviously, to go down there and make the Derby was the first step. Obviously, if you're not in the show, you can't win the show. So our goal was to get in the Derby and run inside the top 20, and I feel like we did that. Obviously, at the start, we had a flat and weren't able to start from 30th. We actually had to start from the tail, I think 36th or 37th. I don't fully remember. But having that flat after qualifying hurt us a little bit. Once we got in the race and got going, though, I felt like we did everything we could to maximize, and I'm super excited to try again next year.
You've been to Five Flags before, raced in the Snowflake. Besides the length and the weather delays, what was it like racing your first Snowball Derby?
It's everything I really hoped for. The driver quality is absolutely phenomenal. There's not a better group of people to race against, I think, in the country, and it was a lot of fun. Learned a lot racing those guys and had a lot of good tight wheel-to-wheel battles. When you're racing Kyle Busch for 20th, it's a pretty cool experience. Just goes to show how good the quality of cars really are. It was a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun racing door-to-door with those people, and learned a lot, and very, very excited to apply it next year.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, as someone that follows the ASA Tour and obviously NASCAR, it was super cool to see you finish ahead of Kyle. Last question on the Snowball Derby. What did you do to pass all the time there?
Oh, man, there
During
wasn't
all
a
the
whole lot
delays.
to do. Hung out with a couple different people, did a little bit of interview stuff, but for the most part, just kind of sit around and wait. I know for me, I had a little bit of that time studying for a physics exam I had when I got home. The delays now made my exam got a little bit delayed, so I got to write it on makeup day now. But I know some of my time was spent doing that. Spent a little bit of time with Dawson Sutton, have a couple of friends in the racing industry, so spent some time with them. But for the most part, just waited around with family.
Got it. Awesome. Appreciate you touching upon that. Now turning towards 2026. Mentioned you just wrapped up rookie year on the ASA Tour and just made your first Derby as discussed. A lot of racing to be had next year. I mean, what are your goals right now for next year?
It's tough to set goals in stone yet, just because our schedule is
up in the air.
so up in the air. I'd say, for the most part, would definitely like to pick up a few more JEG Series wins, maybe an ASA win if we can squeak it in, but I think we still have a little bit of developing to do as a whole. For the most part, just learn, compete for top fives, and I think that'll put us in position to get a couple wins throughout the year.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Really seems like you'll be set for 2026 and very excited to hear those plans. And as always, Chase, really appreciate your time, man. Best of luck with that exam. And we'll talk to you in 2026. Hope you have a great holiday as well, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a happy holidays.
Yeah, as always. Thanks, man. Thank you. See ya.
Was great talking to Chase again. Really appreciate his time. Was super excited for him, watching him in the qualifying Saturday night and seeing him lock in to the Snowball Derby. Now for discussions with Dave. Topic number 1, the one everyone's talking about, the call that black flagged Ty Majeski, peeling back the restart violations. The story with this truly starts with the first restart violation. Listen to Majeski and Nasse's radio probably 100 times reviewing that couple minutes in question. There was chatter on Majeski's radio with his crew chief saying, hey, the Nasse guys were asking if they do get a mulligan if they jump the restart. Then on this restart, Majeski clearly jumps. They yellow flagged and said, hey, you jumped, restart. That kind of gave additional eyes, and Ty thought he could move a little bit quicker going into the box. I watched the video, this specific 10 seconds just over and over again. It is super close. But Majeski, you do hear him hit the throttle. Not 100% sure if he was all the way down, right? But you could see that line still across his hood as he gets closer and closer. It does sound like he stands on it, mere feet, right? Post-race, Majeski said on the first restart, he totally did jump. He was afraid that the 51 was going to try to jump him, maybe rough him up, pinch him into turn 1 and 2. But in the end, I think that's what bit him, because that put so many other eyes on that second restart. Throughout this whole process, I have not heard anyone say a bad thing about track owner Tim Bryant. People are saying he's a very fair person, and he doesn't really care to who wins. He just wants it fair. And the way the rule is written, Ty did break the rule. But people are saying, if the guy that made the call is from the flag stand, and we saw the video from the flag stand or, right behind it from the broadcast booth, and just the way they're coming out of turn 1 with Majeski on the inside, Nasse on the outside, it really looks even. That's why more focus needs to be on that throttle sound. Tim Bryant had to have a person in that restart zone, watching specifically those front 2 cars and listening. And I think that is the straw that broke Majeski's back. And unfortunately for Ty, he had the strongest car all day. Nasse in the 51 was fast, coming from the back of the field, driving through. Even Nasse said it was a blessing that Majeski got black flagged. Tim Bryant did say that they are possibly looking into changing the rule that caused Majeski to, in the end, get scored in the 23rd position. To add insult to injury, Majeski's motor was taken by the track for further inspection. They could do that to anybody. Majeski, as we mentioned, strong all day in that 91. A wreck or something like this was truly the only way he was going to get stopped. I understand why the track is taking their motor. Just tough situation. Next topic, really in the same ballpark, Stephen Nasse, well-earned win. If you follow super late model racing, and specifically throughout Florida, you know who Stephen Nasse is. For last 15 plus years, Pinellas, Florida native, has been making a name for himself. Sometimes he's Nasse, but typically that 51 is up front. And if you follow Stephen at all, you know qualifying is not his strong suit. Typically, you do see that 51 start towards the back of the field and make his way up, which also makes him very exciting to root for. And if you know anything about Stephen, he doesn't take any bull. He sure had his fair share of on and off-track incidents, but hey, that's racing for you sometimes. He is a blue-collar racer through and through. And Nasse thought he won the Snowball Derby in 2019, but after further inspection, his brakes were ruled illegal. But that didn't stop Nasse winning other big super late model races since then, Winchester 400, plus many others. In the end, Nasse is probably the best driver, best personality to deal with the haters saying Majeski should have won. Nonetheless, the 51, Stephen Nasse, Anthony Camping Racing, they earned that one. Congratulations to all. Next topic, the development of the young Keelan Harvick. As we mentioned in the Snowflake 125 recap, early morning hours, Sunday at Five Flags, the 13-year-old son of NASCAR Cup Series champ Kevin Harvick, Keelan in the 62 goes on to win. We were talking about Keelan a couple weeks ago when he was 5th in the South Carolina 500 after starting 2nd after a long night. And in that race, Keelan wasn't always in the front at times. He was, 10th, 11th, and had to come back and earned that 5th place finish. People will say he's been a racer his whole life, but for a 13-year-old to be that focused late at like 3:30 in the morning on a Sunday, I don't know. I mean, it's in his blood 100%, but I was impressed. And if you look at who was in second place, we were talking about a yellow flag, green flag. Tristen McKee, the state of super late model or late model racing, these guys are on pros, right? It's just really good right now. Obviously, these two youngsters, McKee, Harvick, aren't going to be in the late model ranks too much longer before they make the jump into trucks and Xfinity, assuming if that's the track they take. Really excited to see those two specifically, and congratulations to Keelan Harvick. Well-earned win at the Snowflake. Silly season pushes on. Some news I don't think anyone was really expecting. Last couple days ago, we heard that Big Machine Racing was parting ways with Nick Sanchez. Sanchez, as we know, won the Atlanta Xfinity race this past season. In a statement, Sanchez said, "Over the weekend, I was informed that I will not be driving the number 48 for Big Machine Racing in 2026. I'm grateful for Scott Borchetta, Patrick Donahue, and everyone at Chevrolet and the whole team. I am proud of what we all accomplished this year, including our win. Unfortunate timing and circumstances, but it's strictly business. When one door closes, another one opens. Excited about what's ahead." The announcement in middle December was really a head-scratcher, and honestly, doesn't leave either party in the best position for 2026. This would then lead you to think that Sanchez might have had plans with another manufacturer past 2026. We saw something kind of similar with Kaden Honeycutt, which did happen more than halfway through the Truck Series season last year. And at the end of Sanchez's statement, unfortunate timing and circumstances, strictly business. One door closes, another one opens. Does sound like Sanchez has something firm long-term, but where will he land in 2026? That's a really good question. Is that in the Xfinity Series? Does he go to Colleague and take that last Ram truck seat? Who knows? Excited to see what will happen. More silly season news on the Xfinity side. O'Reilly Auto Parts now. Sorry, that's going to happen a lot throughout this season. Bear with me. Austin Green was announced after spending 2 part-time seasons for Jordan Anderson. He will be racing for Peterson Racing full-time on the O'Reilly Auto Parts series in 2026. Had Austin on the show throughout this past season. He was second place to Connor Zilic at the Charlotte Roval at the end of this past year. When I was interviewing Austin, one thing that did surprise me, even though he's had recent success on the road courses, he didn't grow up racing road courses. Excited to have him go through a full schedule and get a lot more seat time on those ovals. Now for an update on NASCAR. More and more info has been coming out from the lawsuit between 2311 Front Row Motorsports against NASCAR. They have gone over their lost profits in the last year, and this is in millions. From 2021 to 2024, 2311 Racing lost $41.3 million. Front Row lost $43.2 million. With more and more of these numbers and information coming out, truly breathtaking how much money and resources are going into the sport, and the teams aren't really seeing too much on the other side back from that. Another topic which I was surprised by, Steve Phelps and other NASCAR executives mentioned how much they felt threatened by SRX Racing. The series ran for 3 years and tried to reignite the Thursday Night Thunder on ESPN. Many retired NASCAR racers, Ryan Newman, Clint Boyer, and drivers from different forms of motorsports were also in these events. Chase Elliott, current NASCAR driver, raced in one of them, and that led to NASCAR executives to be frustrated that owners were racing in a series that were using sponsors that they had in NASCAR. Unfortunately, SRX only lasted 3 years, and TV deals and running a racing series like that was too much of a cost. As someone looking on the outside in, didn't really think anything about it. SRX really tried to model itself after IROC, International Race of Champions. I was shocked how threatened that NASCAR felt by this almost drop in the bucket. Not to say it was fly-by-night, it was there for 3 years, and it was exciting racing. It just couldn't support itself. More NASCAR news continued. Executive O'Donnell said that NASCAR lost $13 million from the clash in the LA Coliseum. Yes, I said that correctly. We know before NASCAR moved the clash to Bowman Gray in 2025, they raced the clash for 3 years at the LA Coliseum, trying to get more fans from a different demographic. Not a bad idea. NASCAR likes to try new things, go to new tracks, and they tried it. It just didn't work in the end. It didn't gain the support. A mid-race concert one of the years was a head scratcher and did not cater towards NASCAR fans. But $13 million loss for running a race in the LA Coliseum? They should have been out of there the first year if they experienced such a big loss. Why do it a second and third time? That's a head scratcher. And that was Discussions with Dave, Part 1. Now for Paint Scheme of the Week. In all honesty, I had the 51 of Stephen Nasse penciled in for this one before his win, and we're going to stick to it. Seeing that gold 51 at a short track, it's just awesome. I could use other language as well, but it just looks like a mean race car. And that's what it is. And it went on to win the 2025 Snowball Derby. Now for NASCAR history time. With all the talk and getting dramatic about how the Snowball ended this year, made me do some research into some NASCAR's most controversial races. Race number 1, we'll look at Richard Petty's big engine. One of the most hotly debated topics in NASCAR history happened in October of '83 during the Miller High Life 500 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, a race Richard Petty won and was his 198th win in his legendary career. Nonetheless, the win came with some controversy. Post-race, officials discovered that Petty's engine was not legal. The team mounted left side tires on the right side, and the engine was found to be 381 cubic inches, well above the 358 limit. Despite the violations, Petty was hit with a 104-point penalty, but the victory itself stood. And one of the reasons why it stood, Darrell Waltrip, who finished in second place, was owned by Junior Johnson. That car was rushed off the track by Johnson and team into the hauler before the NASCAR officials could look at their engine. When asked about it, Johnson said something like, "Yep, we finished second. Petty won. Off to the next one." Makes you chuckle because Junior Johnson's engine was most likely over the 358 limit. Love old NASCAR stories like that. Now, Discussions with Dave, Part 2. With the Snowball Derby being stretched out, fortunately pushed this episode back, and the recording process of it took a little bit longer than I expected. In this time, 2311 Racing, Front Row Motorsports, and NASCAR have come to a settlement, and the lawsuit is over. This is a big victory for the sport and for us fans. Because if this settled in court, what would happen? If NASCAR won, 2311 and Front Row would probably be out of the sport. And if 2311 and Front Row won, what would happen to NASCAR? This was the best circumstance, the best ending for all involved, I believe. Obviously, the proceedings of the settlement have not been disclosed yet. We'll keep you updated if they do become public. Next topic. Did the NASCAR lawsuit have an effect on the Snowball Derby? One of the NASCAR drivers that was in the Snowball Derby and made the field was Ryan Preece. It was announced Preece would be pulling out of the Snowball Derby. Yes, the race did get pushed to Monday, and Preece is in the off-season. He is a family. Totally get it. It's around the holiday times. But if you look at it more closely, Preece had Oscar Mayer on the car. Oscar Mayer is one of his sponsors in the Cup Series. Did RFK Racing have Preece pull out with the ongoing lawsuit and more spotlight on sponsorships being in other series besides NASCAR? We don't know. Probably we will never know. It's just a question that popped up with this scenario. Next topic. Rick Ware Racing Richard Childress Racing partnership. Rick Ware Racing for 2026 will field Chevrolets, switching from Ford. They also announced a partnership with RCR. Cody Ware will return to the number 51. We've seen Cody at the front of the Super Speedway races. We know how good RCR's Super Speedway package is. Yes, on the Xfinity side. Heck, Austin Dillon won in Richmond. Yes, not a Super Speedway by any means, but Austin Dillon, Kyle Busch, they have won their fair share of Super Speedway races. Austin has 2 wins at Daytona, the 500 and the Coke 400. Assuming this will in hand boost Rick Ware Racing's Super Speedway package, what effects will it have starting right away in Daytona? And that wraps up Discussions with Dave for this episode. Now for trivia question time. This week's question is, at what 2 tracks did Richard Petty win the most races at? Answer, although Petty racked up victories across the country on tracks, the King was especially dominant at Martinsville and North Wilkesboro. Richard Petty had 15 wins each at those tracks. Those stats nowadays are mind-blowing. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He'll be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at disneydavew@verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Hope everyone is enjoying the holiday season with their friends and family. Till next time, everybody, Splash of Gas out.